Today, I decided to do something crazy and different and new. Something that, I've never done before, or at least not today. I want to read another email from this guy because there's so much to say. Okay, this is the one that's been writing me that, okay, well, I'll just dive right in because I do not want to make another 28-minute video. I'm sorry, I forgot to add something that I see you talk a lot about. It seems you think that God has created people who can't believe in Him, that somehow there are people who are damned to hell because they can't muster up enough faith. Oh, Lord. I was for a time feeling that way myself. I felt as if I didn't believe enough, and I went to God and said, I doubt. I don't want to doubt, but I'm doubting. I'm doubting you, but I am choosing to act on my own will to search for you until I find you. You don't understand. See, I think that's all I'm going to read in this letter. Talking to the dude who wrote me this letter, and I don't even know if he's watching my videos anymore because I told him to stop it and leave me alone, and he has, to his credit, finally done that. But he doesn't understand what I'm saying. I seem to feel that God has created people who can't believe in Him. I do think it's even bigger than that. God created people. Well, first of all, we know there's no God, so this is all arbitrary, if that's the right word. Okay, but if I am to look at the Bible, and if I'm to look at everything, all the attributes that Christians assign to God, and not ignore any of them, one of those attributes is that God, everything is according to God's divine plan. God is all-knowing, and God, and I never say this word right, omniscient. He can see the future. He can see the future, and He's all-knowing. And in fact, I have on several occasions heard Christians went to other Christians, and I myself did a little of this myself when I was a Christian, heard the story or heard it said that when Jesus was dying on the cross, He could see you. He was dying for you because He could see you. He saw everybody that ever will be, ever, 2,000 years ago while He was dying on the cross. Because God's plan is perfect and it's divine, and it's been in place since the very beginning. And if, as I say, Christians are right about God, He sees the future. He knows everything that's going to happen before it happens. And He's known the big picture. It's all laid out to Him. So, it's not so much that He creates people that can't muster enough faith. He creates people who are destined to hell. He creates them knowing that they will never do what it takes to be saved. He makes them knowing this ahead of time, and He makes them anyway. There's no such thing as free will. You cannot have free will in a God who knows everything. Unless you start putting limitations on God and saying, oh, well, he knows everything except, or he can do it, He can do everything, but, he keeps this little wall, up, so you still have free will, and He doesn't interfere. But everything's according to His will. I don't think that that's free will. I think God knows ahead of time. I don't think. If Christianity is correct, and this is what God is, He knows ahead of time, before we are even born, whether or not we're going to go to heaven or hell. People are like, oh, don't turn your back on God. He'll be so disappointed. No, He won't. It's all part of His plan. Everything that we do, everything that we say, everything that we think is all laid out before we're even born. God does make people knowing they're going to go to hell, and He makes them anyway. And another way of looking at it is, if God wanted everybody to go to heaven, really wanted everybody to go to heaven, he would put in everybody's path exactly what they each require to believe. Not everybody can just believe because somebody says so, or because they get a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. A lot of people need to have some kind of evidence. And if God loves those people, he would provide that evidence. He would put in their path whatever it required to get them to believe, to convince them that he is for real and that this isn't just another made-up religion like all the others before. I not only had something put in my path that made me believe, in other words, adults who told me it was true, but I had people put in my path that, and according to Christianity, everything that happens is part of God's plan. So I had people put in my path that also led me to disbelief, that put up enough evidence for me to realize that everything that I had believed my whole life was not true. If God didn't want me to, assuming of course there's a God, if God didn't want me to stop believing, he would have prevented those things from coming along and being put in my path. Or for that matter, and people say, well, that, Satan does play a part in it. God wields Satan. Satan is his tool. God made Satan for the purpose of doing what he does. And if there's a Satan, if he actually does run the planet, he does so at God's bidding. Everything that Satan does is part of God's plan too. So yeah, I don't think that it's a matter of mustering faith. It's a matter of everybody has different requirements. We're all unique people. And God, if he exists, knows every single one of us and what it would take for us to believe, because he's all-knowing. If that something is not put in our path, that missing piece to the puzzle that makes the picture crystal clear and beyond our ability to deny anymore, if that missing piece is not provided, then my thought is he doesn't want us to go to heaven. He doesn't want us to be saved. It's part of his plan that we go to hell. And this is not a loving God. And as I said before, I would not want to follow a God who would send even one person to be tortured for all eternity. And I don't understand why any nice person would want to worship such a being. I think that's heinous. I think I would rather be one of those suffering in hell than one of those few who were the privileged few who were allowed to whatever so that they could go to heaven. And then they get to what? Listen to the people suffering in hell and relish the sound. I wish I could find the verse, because I am like 99% sure I found a verse once, or I read a verse once in the Bible that said that the residents of heaven will relish the sounds of the suffering in hell. Isn't that special? Anyway, I actually was going to make a completely different video, but then I came across this email and I wanted to comment. So that's all. Thanks for listening. Yay, it's not even that long. Bye.